Good afternoon. This is a presentation on an introduction to wireframes. My name is Saavedra. This is for the course on technical and corporate training presentation skills. I'll begin with a brief introduction of myself. I've been a project manager for over 15 years, and I've been leading teams of project managers, developers, and stakeholders throughout my career. Today, I'll be speaking to you about creating and using wireframes for web-based application projects. I'll explain how wireframes are used to account for the user experience and the importance of considering your users before making final decisions about your project. I'm not a UX designer myself, but I have worked on many projects over the years with several designers. We've worked together to create wireframes for different types of web-based applications. I've used many types of wireframes, from a simple sketch on a piece of paper to more advanced wireframes that were created within computer software programs. I'm currently the Associate Director of IT Project Management at the University of North Texas. And I continue to use wireframes to assist our stakeholders and other users to help them understand what the product is and to help demonstrate what the outcome of that product might be. I'd like for you to understand the value in creating wireframes. It's not only to let developers know what to create, but to ensure that they're creating a product with the end user in mind. I'll begin by asking, what is a wireframe? So a wireframe is a process for designing a user interface for a web-based application. Typically, you see designers using wireframes to help create a mobile application or other web-based applications. And the purpose of the wireframe is really to help the design of the product, to really make sure that we're focused on giving the user what they expect and what they need from the product itself. So why should we even consider what the users need or what they want when we're creating the design? Well, they're the ones who are going to be using the product in the end. So we really want to make sure that it's easy to navigate, easy to use, that it's engaging, and that there's also quality built into the design so that the user experience will be an easy and an excellent experience. So why should we consider the user experience when creating a wireframe? Well, we want to make sure that we're understanding how the end user is going to use your product. How is it going to make them feel? How are they going to navigate through the product? Is it going to be easy? Will they know where to go next? We really want to make sure that we understand the user's feelings and the user's intention of using the product and how that's going to be accomplished with the wireframe. Let's take a look at what a wireframe looks like from the beginning to the end product. So you'll start with something like this image of this mobile wireframe where you'll see some functionality. There are some buttons, some areas for pictures and maybe videos and different features of the application. Are we going to be able to submit information through the application? How is the user going to get from this wireframe to that final finished product? This is why it's so important for the designer to consider the user's experience when designing the wireframe. The user is going to be able to submit feedback and let the designer know what works and what maybe could work better. So we're going to take a look at 6 steps to creating a wireframe. That will include research, taking notes, the user flow, drafting and sketching a wireframe, testing that wireframe for the product, and then creating a prototype for that finished product. To consider who our users are, we want to make sure that we think about the usability of the product. What is it going to be used for? What is the purpose? What is the investment that that person is going to put into using this product? So in order to do that, we need to consider creating a persona. A persona is a representation of your target user. And how do we define those personas? Well, you need to consider who's going to be using your application. What do you know about them? What are they like? What do they do for work? What do they do for fun? And why would they be using your product? We need to consider the many different uses and resources that a user would want from this product to understand who that person is. Before we get to this 6 steps of creating a wireframe, let's listen to a quick recap of what we've learned so far from a short video from Career Foundry. What exactly is a wireframe?
What actually is a wireframe? Essentially, it's a low-fidelity sketch of a digital interface, the outline or bare bones of the key elements of a design. The purpose of a wireframe is to help the designer plan how everything is laid out on the screen before they get bogged down in the nitty-gritty details of the design. It also provides a basic artifact that can be tested with users to confirm or deny different design choices. Imagine you're designing a mobile app. Before you decide on the perfect colors and design aesthetic, you will create wireframes for each basic screen. This will help you plan out exactly how the user will undertake tasks, engage with key elements, and navigate through your product or app.
So now that we know what a wireframe is and what it's going to be used for, let's take a look at the 6 steps to creating your wireframe. We'll look at the research, preparing for a quick reference, mapping out a user flow, drafting and sketching your wireframe, adding details and testing the wireframe, and finally creating a prototype. So why do we need to ask our users how the application should be designed? Well, we'll see through the different steps how the user information and feedback is important to the design for creating your application. The first step is research. You should always get as much information as you can about what your product is going to do, what information you need to create that product, how are users going to use that information, and how are they going to use it within the product itself. So as an example, I'll be showing you some wireframe examples from a project that I worked on at UNT for the UNT card swipe application. Now, this application might look familiar to some of you. The card swipe application was created to manage events and services that occur either on campus or online at UNT. So different departments are able to create events within the application. And when the time comes for that event to occur, participants will be able to sign in to that event to show that they have participated. We'll talk a little bit more about the card swipe application as we move forward through the steps. Step 2 in creating a wireframe is preparing for a quick reference. This basically means taking notes, taking all of the research that you did in step 1, combining the information, and applying it to how your product will be used and the information that will be used within the product itself. Using my UNT card swipe example, here are a couple of different frames that were put together for the card swipe landing page and what it might look like when a user goes into the application to select an event at a kiosk or a back office event, and what those pages might look like to the user as they select different events. The next step is mapping out the user flow. So we want to make sure the user has an easy opportunity to get from point A to point B to point C and all the other points in between, from beginning using the application to wherever they need to go within the application. So this is really thinking, again, from the user's perspective, how are they going to log in? How are they going to interact with the homepage? And how are they going to search for more information within the application? So going from one step to the next. Step 4 is probably the fun part of creating the wireframe. That's drafting and sketching. This is where you really put pen to paper and start designing your application in terms of what it might look like. It doesn't need to have a lot of details or information, just an idea of what each page might look like to the user, considering where the functionality will be on the page, where the different buttons might be, where there might be images or pictures or videos, those kinds of things put together into a sketched image. Here's an example from our UNT card swipe project. Our UX designer, Samantha Lawrence, created these designs as a sketch for the workflow that the user may be going through from one page to the next. So she created some images that might reflect the user, the persona that she created, who would log into the system, and maybe shows some analytics and information about different events. So just a simple sketch to show how the user is going to get from one page to the next. Step 5 is adding details and testing your wireframe. So as you can see in the image here, you want to add some details about information on what is going to go where on the page. Where are the pictures going to be? If a user selects the video, is it going to play when they select that video picture? You know, where are the different buttons going to be for getting to the next page or getting to a menu or a different feature within the application? Once we've got some of the details down, we want to consider having different users test the wireframe. So this doesn't mean that you have to have a completed application ready to go. This could even still be on a piece of paper within the sketch, and you want to show it to your friends, to your coworkers, and make sure that every component is fulfilling its purpose within the design. Making sure that users are able to navigate and understand what to do next. Then you want to be able to take that feedback with an open mind and prepare to adjust as needed. Finally, step 6 is creating a prototype. So this is where you start to get your developers on board with your design from your wireframe and build a prototype of what that design might look like within an application. Here's an example from our UNT card swipe project of a prototype page where users can either log into an event at a kiosk or from a back office event or service that's happening online. The user would be able to select the event and swipe in or enter in their ID to show that they've participated in that event. We used this prototype with a few testers on campus to see what their reaction was. And we went back and made some adjustments and created something that was a little bit more user-friendly. So those are the 6 steps for creating your wireframe. I've also provided a handout that you can use to reference when you're creating your own wireframes. The steps on the handout will remind you what to work on next from one step to the next in the design process. Another aspect to consider when creating your wireframes are to think of the 3 key principles to creating a great wireframe. There are 3 principles: clarity, confidence, and simplicity. So when you're considering clarity, you want your wireframe to answer the questions of what your application is there to do. What are the users using this for? And when they are using it, does it satisfy their needs? The next principle is confidence. So this is considering the ease of navigation through your site, through the application, and making sure that your users have confidence in the application. Does it satisfy their needs? Does it make them happy? Are they going to use it again and again? When they do, that creates confidence in your product and brings other users to your product as well. The third principle is simplicity. You want to make sure that your design and your application is simple and easy to use. Your users are going to let you know if this wireframe and your design are easy to navigate, that they're easy to get through, easy to understand, easy to read. You want to take that simplicity in mind when creating your wireframe and your application. Consider when you might be using a new application. You don't want to have to read a lot of instruction to learn how to use the application. It should be a flawless experience and easy to navigate. So when creating your wireframes using the 6 steps and these 3 principles for a great wireframe, consider that your wireframe should help define a clear use for your product. It should build confidence in the user's mind that the product does what it's meant to, and make sure that you keep it simple. The less clicks, the better. So remember, wireframes are created with the user in mind because you want your users to be able to simply and effectively interact with your finished product. Not only do the designers require this knowledge, but there are developers and project managers and others who will also require feedback from our users to create good design. Consider that wireframes are a process used to create a product with that user experience in mind. Also make sure that you leave room for improvement in your design. Users will find a way to use your product, a better way to use your product. So be prepared for those changes and for that feedback. You want to make sure that you're able to make those changes quickly and easily and satisfy your users' needs. Thank you for attending this presentation on wireframes. I hope that you've learned something new about wireframes and the user experience. Keep in mind that if you need any more information, I will be available to answer any questions. You can also reach me through email. I'll also be providing a quick feedback survey for this presentation to everyone by email so that I can make improvements where needed in future presentations. Thank you so much.